Thank you, Representative Ransom. The House will come to order. Please join Representative Bradfield in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please join me for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile is excused. Bacon. Baisley is excused. Benavides. Burnett.
Here.
Byrd. Bockenfeld. Representative Bockenfeld is excused. Basenecker. Bradfield. Caraveo. Carver. Catlin is excused. Cutter.
Present.
Doherty. Duran. Esgar. Exum. Froelich. Geithner. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Representative Gray is excused. Hanks. Hanks is excused. Herod. Holtorf. Hooten. Representative Hooten's excused. Judah is excused. Kennedy. Kipp. Larson. Lindsay.
Here.
Wantine. Luck. Representative Luck is excused. Lynch. Rep. Lynch is excused. McCluskey. McCormick. McKean. McLaughlin.
Present.
Michelson Janae.
Present.
Mullica. Neville. Ortiz.
Here.
Pelton. Pelton is excused. Pico. Ransom. Ricks.
Present.
Roberts. Sandridge. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Soper's excused. Sullivan. Tipper. Titone. Valdez A. Valdez is excused. Valdez D. Van Beber. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will. Williams.
Here.
Woodrow. Woog. Representative Woog is excused. Young. And Mr. Speaker. Okay, Hooten's here. Judah just came in too.
We had to do the journal. 53. 53? 53 present, 12 excused, barely have a quorum. Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Journal of Thursday, April 7, 2022 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Representative Bradfield. Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Thought maybe they wouldn't hear me. The ayes have it, the motion's approved. Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I have an important announcement from the Appropriations Committee for every single person who may think that they have a bill coming to our committee. Okay? Appropriations, I've been saying this before, but we are moving quickly. Your bill may be scheduled and then show up the next day. You have to stay on top of your inbox to make sure that you know what amendments are being proposed and what the canary sheet says. You may get an email at midnight as soon as the canary sheet is done. So make sure you understand your canary, make sure you understand the amendment and any changes that may be happening. Hard copies are always on your desk in the morning before appropriations, but that may be at 6 a.m. So best to check your emails, best to look in the box. If you do not know how to work the box, we have amazing IT staff that can help you, as they have helped me. So thank you all so much for that. And now for the fun news. Everyone ready? We have a joke winner of the morning, and it's finally from the other side of the aisle. Let's hear our joke from Representative Bradfield. Come on down.
Okay, this is a poignant story. Poignant. Gotta find it. Okay, a girl potato and a boy potato had eyes for each other, and finally they got married and had a little sweet potato, which they called Yam. Of course, they wanted the best for Yam, and when it was time, they told her about the facts of life. They warned her about going out and getting half-baked and accidentally smashed and having a bad name for herself, like hot potato, and then end up with a bunch of tater tots. Yam said not to worry. No spud would get her into the sack and make a rotten potato out of her. But on the other hand, she wasn't going to stay home and become a couch potato either. She would get plenty of exercise so as not to be skinny like her shoestring cousins. When she went off to Europe, Mr. and Mrs. Potato told Yam to watch out for the hard-boiled guys from Ireland and the greasy guys from France, called those French fries. Yam said that she would stay on the straight and narrow and wouldn't associate with those high-class Yukon Golds, or the ones from the other side of the tracks who advertise their trade on all the trucks. Mr. and Mrs. Potato sent Yam to Idaho PU. Now that's Potato University, so that when she graduated, she'd really be in the chips. But in spite of all they did for her, one day, Yam came home and announced that she was going to marry Tom Brokaw. Mr. and Mrs. Potato were very upset. They told Yam she couldn't possibly marry Tom Brokaw because he's just, are you ready for this? Are you sure? Here it is. He is a commentator.
I believe that was very nice, Representative Bradfield. I appreciate that. It requires 2/3 of the chamber to adopt a conceptual amendment to the House rules that this thing that's happening in appropriations can't continue. I started this session talking about the decorum of the chamber and making sure that we just, continue with the tradition of the thousands of legislators before us. And I think we need to have a rule to stop this. Representative Herod.
I think before we move on to that rule, I do want to say that at first I was worried about Representative Bradfield's joke because I wanted to make sure we weren't spud shaming. But I think she pulled it back around with the Tom Brokaw, and I thought it was a really strong joke. But Mr. Speaker, I understand your concern, which is why I want Representative McCormick, where is Representative McCormick, to come on down and tell her joke.
Oh, man. Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we're getting fried.
All right, Representative McCormick. I will say that Representative Bradfield's joke was the best of the year, for sure. The best. Representative McCormick, we don't have to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry, this will not help with the decorum. All right, scientists have just discovered a fossilized dinosaur fart. They say it's a blast from the past.
Man. There's a button up here that can mute the well. Do you guys know that? There's a button up here and I can press it and the mics turn off up there. Representative Herod.
I said I'd be excused for the rest of session.
So approved, I guess. I will say that I thought the potato expert in the chamber was Representative Neville. I'm not sure if Representative Bradfield out-potatoed him or has taken that crown, but I do think that it's worthy to point that out. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just would like to introduce someone who's sitting with us in the gallery. Gaspar Gabian is here with us, and you may know the Armenian kachar that we have out on our property that was just not destroyed but vandalized a few years back. He is here to actually restore that for us, and he's working out there. I just wanted to make sure that you all saw who he was, thank him for what he's doing and fixing that beautiful monument to the Armenian people. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here.
Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we have some students here with us today in the chamber. They're 8th graders at Strive Prep Sunnyside. It's a charter school that's in Representative Alex Valdez's district, but very close to my district as well. And I had the opportunity to visit them over the interim. And so their teacher is also accompanying them and teaches them all in 2 different courses, English and social justice through literature. Both courses focus on ways to disrupt oppression and are centered around how to use your voice to do so. So if you could stand and everybody please recognize students from Sunnyside Prep.
Further announcements and introductions. Representative Judah, Herod, Bacon, Exum. Representative Bacon.
Thank you, members. I just wanted to be able to acknowledge something that was very important that happened, particularly for folks who look like me. Yesterday, we confirmed Ketanji Brown Jackson as the next Supreme Court Justice. Many of you may not know, but I'm not a first for many things. particularly in this chamber, but I think I might be the first Black female attorney to be a Colorado representative. And so I just wanted to be able to share with you briefly how important it is for little girls everywhere who look like me that she was confirmed. Growing up, often, I think in our generation, we talked a lot about what is it that we want to be the first. I don't know if many of you women were like, I want to be the first woman, fill in the blank, right? And so for us, it's, I want to be the first African-American, fill in the blank. And even though that may sound like it was exciting for little girls to dream, the truth of the matter is our imaginations were kind of limited because we didn't see ourselves reflected. And so what happened yesterday really just opened the door for little Black girls to have limitless imaginations on what's possible for them. And so even though we've gone through somewhat of a political process around that, I hope we can all acknowledge that what her appointment really means for not only Black girls in this country, but for all of us, in that we can really say that this country can live up to its utmost potential by really demonstrating this type of diversity on the country's highest court. So thank you for this moment of acknowledgement.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And and I just want to also say, so little story real quick. When I was a little girl, I used to take a black sheet and wrap it around me and tell my mom that I was going to be on the Supreme Court. And I would do this a lot out in public as well. And people would literally look at me like I was crazy, right, as a little kid. And I had teachers and counselors and people tell me that that was not a possibility for me ever. And what this confirmation means to me is that there will be young girls who will walk around with their black sheet on or whatever they have, their mom's shawl, and say that they want to be on the Supreme Court, and people will actually believe them. People will actually tell them that they can. And so you all know my mom is having a tough time. She's in a nursing home right now, and this week has been really hard for her. She has been pretty, what she calls in the pits. And she called me yesterday and she said, you know, Les, did you see what just happened? It actually happened. She got confirmed. And she was like, today is a good day. And she asked me when I come down this weekend if we could go outside. And that sunshine and that light and that hope is in the hearts of so many Americans, especially Black women, but for Americans across this country. This is not just an amazing moment for Black people. This is an amazing moment for our country to show that our voices all matter, that we are all worthy, and that your color will not keep you from being on the highest court in the land. Now, when I go back to the Supreme Court and look up, I will see someone who looks like me. And I will be able to tell young girls and boys, everyone, that they too can dream whatever dream they want to dream. And that not only can they dream it, they can achieve it. So it's a huge moment. And I just want to thank you all for taking a moment with us this morning. And I look forward to following her career as she becomes one of our nation's greatest. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Herod and Representative Bacon, Representative Exum, and Representative Judah. Representative Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, on your desk this morning, you're going to find this lovely packet from the National Donate, where I guess it's from the Shine a Light folks, donatelifecolorado.org. So this is National Donate Life Month. So if you could join our 1,500 community members who will be shining a light. There's a little light in the packet that you can turn on and shine a light in your window and show support for organ, eye, and tissue donation. 1,500 represents those Coloradans and Wyomingites who are waiting for a life-saving transplant. So I encourage you, thank you, to please shine a light and sign up to be an organ donor. And I encourage everybody to sign up being an organ donor, right? So thank you very much for joining us in celebrating National Shine a Light Month.
Thank you, Representative Kipp. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is the 507th Friday since Alex Sullivan was murdered at the Aurora Theater shooting, and we honor his memory, and we also have work to do in trying to address the gun violence that brought his death. And so please keep working with me on that. Thank you.
Representative Michelson-Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services, we are not meeting today, so please enjoy your Friday.
See no further announcements and introductions. The next order of business is third reading of bill's final passage. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1103.
House Bill 1103 by Representatives Exum and Ricks, also Senators Corum and Fields, concerning the creation of a Delta Sigma Theta sorority special license plate and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1103 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1103 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. For those participating online, Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson-Jeanette, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Jeanette votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes.
Jeanette? Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Representative
I had
Lindsay,
to vote.
how do you vote?
Oh, man, that's our bill, too. I wanted to take a picture with...
Please mute. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Representative Mollica, how do you vote? And I believe Representative McLaughlin is excused. Please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 14 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1103 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Lindsay, co-sponsor. Representative Hooten, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1313.
House Bill 1313 by Representatives McCormick and Caraveo, also Senator Moreno, concerning housing requirements for agricultural workers during a public health emergency.
Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1313 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1313 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson-Jeanette, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Jeanette votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 54 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 10 excused, House Bill 1313 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Burnett, Michelson-Jeanette, Lindsay, Cutter, Hooten, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1291.
House Bill 1291 by Representative Weissman, also Senator Janal, concerning the Sunrise review of a proposed regulation on an unregulated professional or occupational group.
Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1291 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1291 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 39 aye votes, 16 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1291 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1344.
House Bill 1344 by Representatives Neville and Ortiz, also Senators Cook and Janal, concerning the lawful use of a prescription drug that contains 3,4-methylene-deoxymethamphetamine MDMA that is approved by the United States Food and Drug Administration.
Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1344 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1344 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 2 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1344 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Lindsay, Representative Michelson Janae, Representative Cutter, Representative Hooten, Representative Burnett, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1311.
House Bill 1311 by Representatives Pico and Woodrow, also Senator Woodward, concerning the correction of technical defects with definitions that resulted from a restructuring of the gasoline and special fuel tax in 2021.
Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1311 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1311 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1311 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the Senate Bill 34.
Senate Bill 34 by Senators Colker and Priola, also Representatives Byrd and Sandridge, concerning measures to counteract the filing of fraudulent business documents with the Secretary of State.
Majority Leader Esker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Senate Bill 34 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 34 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson-Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close machine. With 55 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 10 excused, Senate Bill 34 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Lindsay Hooten, co-sponsor. Representative Cutter, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Escar. Let's do committee reports. Mr. Schiebel, please read reports of committees of reference.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1067 as amended, 1210 as amended, 1235 as amended, 1267 as amended, 1278 as amended, 1302 as amended, 1304 as amended, 1305 as amended, Senate Bill 100 as amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Business Affairs and Labor, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1312, 1324 as amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole. House Bill 1328 be referred favorably to the Committee on Finance. Committee on Education, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1220 as amended, 1349 as amended, be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Committee on Finance, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1163 be postponed indefinitely. Committee on Judiciary, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1216 be postponed indefinitely. House Bill 1317 as amended, Senate Bill 10 as amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1318, Senate Bill 18 be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Committee on State, Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs, Senate Bill 104 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills.
Seeing minimal objection from the Speaker, we will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments to House bills. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1043.
House Bill 1043 by Representative Pico, also Senators Heisey and Janal, concerning motor vehicles that operate on the roadway with fewer than 4 wheels in contact with the roadway and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It pains me at the risk of getting a flat tire that I recommend we concur with Senate amendments.
Do you mind moving that recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1043.
I think the motion is you move to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1043.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur with Senate amendments for House Bill 1043.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Pico. That is a proper motion. Would you like to talk about the amendments? Representative Pico.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Senate added an amendment. Our concern was that one particular producer of autocycles was concerned that the language as originally written and passed by the House would have excluded him. So under the principle of doing no harm, we modified it slightly. It was a minor technical adjustment that allowed a autocycle to continue to be steered with handlebars rather than just a wheel. So I recommend, ask for approval, and that we put this on the road to the governor's desk.
Representative D. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we move this back to committee for further review and on that technical amendment. And I withdraw that. Withdraw that.
Great. Okay. The motion before us is to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1043. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Sorry, yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes, or Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. 54 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 10 excused. The motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1043 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1043 as amended.
Motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1043, the repassage of House Bill 1043 as amended. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 54 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 10 excused, House Bill 1043 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1139.
House Bill 1139 by Representatives Geithner and Hooten, also Senators Bridges and Heisey, concerning prohibiting a unit owners association of a common interest community from regulating the use of a public right-of-way.
Assistant Minority Leader Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I move to concur with Senate amendments. That's right, you heard it here.
It's a proper motion. Assistant Minority Leader Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So members, it was a simple technical fix. It added 2 words to the overall list of things that would be included. That's franchise and license. These are often things that are handled by municipalities as well as counties. So this is just a technical change. So I appreciate the yes vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1139. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Caraveo. Please close the machine. With 50 aye votes, 5 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1139 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1139 as amended.
Question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1139 as amended. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 47 aye votes, 8 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1139 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1153.
House Bill 1153 by Representatives Tipper and Esgar, also Senators Bridges and Moreno, concerning affirming parentage by adoption for a person who did not give birth when the child is conceived as a result of assisted reproduction.
Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur to Senate amendments to House Bill 1153.
It's a proper motion. Majority Leader Esgar or Representative Tipper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Senate did some great work, though it pains me to admit it, on what looks like a lot of substantive changes, but really it's just recopying a portion of the statute that allows for a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, which parents sign at the hospital. And we're done with COVID anyways, right, baby? And so what the bill does, or what the change that the Senate made does, it takes the gendered language out of that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. So we like that amendment. We ask for support.
Is there any further discussion?
Oh, wait, there's another amendment.
And the most important part is Marlo is the inspiration behind this bill, and the short title of the bill will be named Marlo's Law.
Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I was actually pretty surprised when this happened. The Senate sponsors of the bill were the ones who decided that this should be named after Marlo because it is the story of our family. And I was taken by surprise and truly amazed. And it just so happens she has to be here with me today because her other mommy gets to be at opening day. So she's with me all day. I just can't thank everybody enough and how special this is to us. So we ask for your support. Thank you.
That's great. I know now why we did consideration of Senate amendments to House bills, which is great. See no further discussion. The question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1153. See no further discussion. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine. Members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1153 is adopted. Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1153 as amended. Here's your chance to vote yes again. It's my big wink.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1153 as amended. See no further discussion. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine. Members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 47 aye votes, 8 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1143 is adopted. Repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Representative Burnett, co-sponsor. Representative Cutter, Lindsay, co-sponsor. Hooten, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1231.
House Bill 1231 by Representatives Van Beber and Valdez D., also Senators Heisey and Fields, concerning a Bill of Rights for foster parents.
Representative Van Beber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, let me say thank you for a bill that just had one or two folks on it at the beginning. And while we're on the topic of children, I want to thank all of the folks in the House and the Senate who jumped on this, because at this point we have dozens and dozens of sponsors. So thank you for that. Second, I will, in full disclosure, admit I'm to be responsible for these Senate amendments. We did a little bit of last-minute stakeholdering. I know. Shake your head in disgust. I know. But there it is. So I will, though, concur. So in the best interest of children, I move to concur with Senate amendments for House Bill 22-1231.
Thank you, Representative Van Beber. That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Representative Van Beber.
Yes. So what these amendments do is, with the intention of balancing parents' rights and foster parents' rights, we included a little bit of additional technical language to ensure that when we talk about what information is being shared with whom, that everybody has access to information about how to best help our most vulnerable Coloradans, our children and foster youth.
Representative D. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
Yeah, honor to serve with you too, Representative D. Valdez.
Members, this is about the children. As for an aye vote.
Great. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1231. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
10 times yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 55 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1231 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1231 as amended.
Question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1231 as amended. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams votes yes. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Majority Leader Esker, Representative Molka, Representative Tipper, please close the machine. 55 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 10 excused. House Bill 1231 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Representative Ortiz, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the House Bill 1329.
House Bill 1329 by Representative McCluskey, also Senator Hansen, concerning the provision for payments of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, except as otherwise noted.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I move that the House strongly not concur with the Senate amendments and that a conference committee be appointed with permission to go beyond the scope of the many differences between the House and the Senate.
Thank you, Representative McCluskey. That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before the House is to not concur with Senate amendments and a conference committee be appointed. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to not concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1329 and appoint a conference committee is passed. I make that announcement now, right? The conferees for House Bill 1329 are Representative Herod, Representative Ransom, and Representative McCluskey, Chair. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1338.
House Bill 1338 by Representative Herod, also Senator Hansen, concerning modification of the manner in which specified motor vehicle-related functions of the Department of Revenue are funded and in connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House concur with the Senate amendments.
That is a proper motion. Any further discussion?
No.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1338. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 10 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1338 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of
I
special.
think we have to
Never
repass
mind.
the bill.
Hey,
We don't have to.
so sorry.
Oh.
I move for the repassage of House Bill 1338 as amended.
Question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1338 as amended. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Williams, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Williams votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote? Unmute.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson Janae votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hooten votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Judah. Please close the machine. With 38 aye votes, 17 no votes, and 10 excused, House Bill 1338 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors.
I don't proceed out of order. I just
Please close the machine. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the following bills be made special orders today, April 8th at 9:54. Senate Bill 139, House Bill 1067, House Bill 1210, House Bill 1235, House Bill 1267, House Bill 1302, House Bill 1305, Senate Bill 100, House Bill 1273, House Bill 116. Senate Bill 116.
Seeing no objection, the bills laid out by the majority leader will be made special orders today at 9:54 a.m. And Representative Ricks, we did get you as a co-sponsor in that last one. Sorry, I didn't call that out. Representative Exum. Seeing no objection, Representative Exum will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request to rereading the bill at length. Committee reports are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen or on your iPads. Bills will be laid order upon the motion of the majority leader, and the court rule is relaxed.
And judiciary.
Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to proceed out of order for immediate consideration of House Bill 1210.
We will move out of order to consider House Bill 1210. Mr. Sheba, please read the title to House Bill 1210.
House Bill 1210 by Representatives Benavides and Duran, also Senators Winter and Smallwood, concerning the continuation of the Domestic Violence Offender Management Board and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations contained in the 2021 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
The Appropriations and Judiciary.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move House Bill 1210, along with the Judiciary Report and Appropriations Report.
To the Appropriations Committee report.
You want to do that? Go ahead.
Representative Benavides. Madam Speaker
Thank
Pro
you,
Tem.
Mr. Chair. There was a small appropriations that the Appropriations Committee approved.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Appropriations Committee report to House Bill 1210. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Appropriations report is adopted. To the Judiciary report. Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment 002 and ask that it be displayed.
Do you need this?
Thank you. That amendment has been properly moved and now has displayed to Amendment L002. Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, this just makes some clarifications to that report with regard to the annual report that the Domestic Violence Board will be giving to the legislature. It also clarifies that the board, the data collection plan that the board has developed, that providers will begin using that in January. And I urge a yes vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002 to the Judiciary report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L002. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Thank you. The amendment is adopted. To the Judiciary report, Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the bill?
To the
Judiciary report.
Just say it. I urge a yes vote.
I urge a yes vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary report to House Bill 1210. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The Judiciary report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Domestic Violence Offender Management Board is a 19-member policy board that is tasked with developing and maintaining the standards for the evaluation, assessment, treatment, and monitoring of domestic violence offenders and improving providers to evaluate and treat offenders. The goals of the DVOMB are to improve the effectiveness and consistency of treatment, reduce recidivism, and protect victims, and I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Benavides. Madam Speaker Pro Tem.
I think my co-prime explained the bill, and it's a good bill. Please vote yes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1210? Seeing none. Oh, yes, Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have a quick question about something I read in the revised fiscal note this morning in appropriations. On page 2, there's a statement that says the treatment providers pay a fee to apply for placement on the approved provider list. And that, it just kind of concerned me that to apply to be on the approved provider list, we charge the treatment providers that fee. And I was wondering if that was something you all looked at or something that was considered in this review. Thank you.
Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that question. It's, for these, they do background checks and they do other things as they evaluate their application to become a provider. So that.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1210? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1210. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Bill 1210 is adopted. Mr. Sheba, please read the title to Senate Bill 139.
Senate Bill 139 by Senators Buckner and Coleman, also Representative Harrod, concerning the establishment of Juneteenth as a state holiday.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 139.
Representative Harrod, would you, that is a proper motion. Would you, would you like to speak further about that?
To the bill, yes.
To the bill.
Thank you. Members, this bill establishes Juneteenth as our 11th state holiday. I'm really excited to be able to work on this bill with members of the Black Caucus alongside of Colorado Wins, our State Employees Association, and Juneteenth down in Northeast Denver to make this bill an official holiday. Before I give my remarks, I will turn over the floor to my colleagues.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, this should have been a holiday like well over a century ago. So although I would have preferred that we had gotten rid of another holiday, that's not in the bill. And so I encourage a yes vote on this. It's long overdue, and I think this is a great way to celebrate it, and it's something that we should celebrate as we move forward as a country.
Thanks.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm honored to be a co-sponsor on this bill. I want to read something from Maya Angelou that kind of captures what this Juneteenth holiday means. She said, "A caged bird sings with a fearful thrill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his time is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings for freedom." So we celebrate freedom on Juneteenth. Thank you.
Representative Sandrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not here to tell you whether to vote for a holiday or not, but that's definitely your prerogative. But Juneteenth is not a partisan issue. I know our side of the aisle has had a long history supporting Juneteenth. So I just want to make it clear, this isn't a partisan Republican-Democrat thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sanders. Representative Harrod.
Oh, did you want to say something? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I just want to give a quick and brief history lesson for those of you all who don't know what Juneteenth is. Members, can I just get a raise of hands for those of you all who do know what Juneteenth is? Good, great, love it. I like it. Members, Juneteenth is the day that honors and celebrates the day that, that the people who were enslaved got their liberation. And for those of you all who don't know or who think that once we pass a bill that magically people across the country and globe and across our state even know that that bill has passed, you're wrong. In fact, it took years after the Emancipation Proclamation for slaves to know that they were free. In fact, slave masters across the South kept that from slaves so that they can continue to work the soil and to be held in slavery. But it wasn't until the slaves received information on June 19th of their liberation that they realized that they are truly free. And so this year we celebrate Juneteenth, and today we celebrate Juneteenth in the Five Points neighborhood. We have the largest Juneteenth celebration in Colorado and one of the largest Juneteenth celebrations in the country, celebrating the liberation of Black people. And today, because of the hard work of Colorado Wins, because of the hard work of the Juneteenth Celebration Committee, we are able to make Juneteenth a state holiday once and for all. But I would be remiss if I didn't pay honor and tribute to my predecessor, the Honorable Representative Wilma Webb. You see, because this bill, to become a holiday, I will say, carrying this bill, it was much easier than I anticipated, but it was also much easier than the road that she walked when she made MLK Day an official holiday. You see, she tried for 5 years to make our last state holiday, MLK Day, an official holiday. She had death threats. She was removed from her position on the Joint Budget Committee, which I now am honored to serve on, all because she wanted to honor Dr. King. But today, we are different. And from hearing from my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, and I do appreciate you coming down, this is not a partisan issue. This is an American issue. We have to reckon with, yes, our very tough past of slavery and what this country was built upon. But we also have to honor the freedoms that have come and the liberation that is here. And so for folks who ask us why we're trying to celebrate Juneteenth as a state holiday right here in Colorado, well, let me tell you. A lot of black people left Texas when they were free and rode up to Colorado. They actually homesteaded here in Deerfield and the Dry. They founded towns like Breckenridge. And in fact, as Representative Bacon reminds us, during that time, 1 in 4 cowboys in Colorado were actually black. So this is a very appropriate day for Colorado to honor. This is an appropriate holiday, and I'm very excited to ask for your aye vote and to make Juneteenth an official holiday, the 11th official holiday for the state of Colorado. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Senate Bill 139? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 139. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Bill 139 is adopted. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1067.
House Bill 1067 by Representatives Woodrow and Gonzalez-Gutierrez, also Senators Lee and Rodriguez, concerning clarifying changes to measures that ensure defendants have a prompt bond hearing.
Representative Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1067 and the Appropriations and Judiciary Committee reports.
To the Appropriations Report. Representative Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, in Appropriations, we had a couple things happen. We had an amendment to ensure that appropriations were going forward, and one of those amendments was at the request of the district attorneys to make sure that the grant fund was still available. And then we also moved an amendment that replaces the petition clause with a safety clause. And again, this was at request of the district attorneys to ensure that they still had the grant funds available to them. I ask for a yes on this.
Thank you. Question on the Appropriations Committee report? Yes, okay. Assistant Minority Leader, Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so for the sponsors, I'm just curious, as I read the Appropriations Committee report, the amendment that was put on reads Section 3, Appropriation Adjustments to 2022 Long Bill, that the 2022-2023 state fiscal year to the Department of Law for Deputy District Attorney training is decreased by $150,000. So are you saying this is the request that came from the District Attorney? Is it that they were looking for a decrease in funding? If we could just speak to that a little bit, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Rep. Geithner, Assistant Minority Leader Geithner. This is a switching of the funding mechanism. So it's not actually pulling funds. They're not actually getting decreased. It's an accounting mechanism. Basically, when we set up the grant program, we did it in a way that the AG's office actually can't do. So what they asked for is a changing in the funding mechanism. So yes, it looks like it's a decrease, but it's not actually decreasing any funding. It's just shifting how the funding occurs.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Appropriation report is adopted. To the Judiciary report, Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a very robust discussion in the House Judiciary Committee. We put on some amendments that make the bill fairer. A lot of stakeholding went into this. we had numerous meetings with the counties, with the sheriffs, with the judges, trying to get this right. And we had a great discussion in Judiciary, but I do have one amendment that we'd like to make to the Judiciary Committee report. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move L007 and ask that it be displayed.
Thank you. That has been properly moved and is now displayed to Amendment L007. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, members, what this amendment does is, it's part of our stakeholding process. The sheriffs expressed concerns that we are requiring folks to have these 48-hour bond hearings, but that the sheriffs, when it comes to municipal cases, aren't always able to prioritize municipal defendants. So what this does is, in a nod to the sheriffs, is it says that what we're trying to do here doesn't require the sheriff to transport an in-custody defendant to the municipal court. The sheriffs expressed that they were concerned that under the language as it currently exists without the amendment, that they would run afoul of the bill. And so this is in recognition of that concern.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Amendment L007 to the Judiciary report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L007. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Thank you. Amendment L007 is adopted. To the Judiciary report.
I think we're to the bill.
No, we're to the committee.
Oh, we're to the committee report.
Yes.
Great. Like I said, members, we had an excellent discussion in House Judiciary. It's always an honor to go before that committee and get grilled by the team of lawyers and others. I ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the Judiciary report to House Bill 1067? Seeing none, the question before us is adoption of the Judiciary report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. No. Thank you. The committee report is adopted. Now we're to the bill. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, what House Bill 1067 does is I want to just go back to 2021. So currently, due to a bill that we passed last year, Colorado state courts are required to hold a bond hearing for individuals within 48 hours of arrest. Because the bill from last year referred to all courts, we believed that it would also include municipal courts. However, it did not. So because of that, we bring you House Bill 1067, which requires municipal courts to hold bond hearings within 48 hours of arrest. This is closing legal loopholes and bringing municipal courts in line with the state courts and constitutional requirements. Under this bill, municipalities can hold court. They can even do so virtually, or they can choose to release the individual with a summons. Thank you, members. I ask for your support of 1067.
Thank you. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, just to add a little to what the Assistant Majority Leader just said. So last year in House Bill 211280, we passed a standard across the state to have 48-hour bond hearings when someone is placed under arrest. And this is actually required by due process. The Fifth Circuit, one of the most conservative circuits, conservative circuit courts in the entire country, has come out and said that if you want to comport with due process under the United States Constitution and most likely your state constitution, you have to hold these hearings within 48 hours. So we worked really hard last session and passed a bill to require 48-hour bond hearings in state courts. We thought in that process that we had covered all courts in the state. Turns out we just covered all state courts, and that left out obviously municipal courts, which are a very important part of our Colorado judiciary and judicial system. So what this bill does is it extends that 48-hour requirement to the municipal courts, and that's no small feat. Without it, you have this anachronism in Colorado law where someone who is arrested on a relatively more serious offense, an offense that would land them in a Colorado state court, has a right to see a judge within 48 hours, but someone who is picked up on what is relatively a more minor offense like a municipal offense, maybe it's public intoxication, sleeping in the wrong place, public urination, they do not have the right to see a judge within 48 hours. And so what this bill does is it makes Colorado law more fair and consistent. This is the result of extensive stakeholding with sheriffs, DAs, CMLs, the municipal judges. I want to thank everyone who participated in the process. I want to thank my co-prime sponsor. A lot of work went into this. That's why there are amendments, because we listened and we wanted to make this standard work for all judges, and no matter what court they sit in Colorado. So we're very proud of the work that was done. We're very thankful for everyone who participated. We ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Further discussion from Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in opposition to the bill for the following reasons. First of all, with all due respect to my colleague, current constitutional law does not dictate that the bond hearing has to be held within the specific 48 hours. That's not what the Fifth Circuit said, and that's certainly not the rule nationwide. What came out in Judiciary Committee was the following conundrum for municipal courts. And I don't know if any of you have heard from your municipal court judges. CMJA is in an amend position on this bill still. Here is their concern. If you have an individual that is arrested on Friday afternoon, and you never know when that's going to be the case, the municipal court and all supporting personnel, so that's not just court personnel, that is the prosecutor, that is the defense counsel, that is potentially law enforcement, maybe, but it's a whole slew of personnel that now every municipal court that is facing this situation has to arrange for their personnel to be able to do weekend court every weekend. Because you never know when you're going to have a Friday that an individual is going to be arrested, where they would normally get to a bond hearing Monday morning, but that does not meet the 48 hours. So what we heard in committee was testimony from judges, from CMJA, from others on the burden on personnel, the additional cost, the challenge in being forced to basically move to the ability to have people on call to come in potentially every weekend, and the disruption that that would provide to the municipal courts. Now, with regards to the point that this is treating the municipal courts exactly like the state courts in the bill last year, that is not factually correct. So in the bill last year, we did a workaround for the state courts. We provided two mechanisms for state courts so that their local court personnel would not be forced into having to be on weekend court every weekend or on call. It provided a mechanism for judges and other support personnel at a state level to be able to step in and provide that function over the weekend, and then that would not be a requirement that forced weekend court for every state court and district court. In addition, we provided fairly robust funding to cover the cost. Now, I appreciate that some funding has been found for municipal courts, but you are still looking at the same personnel who are working very hard Monday through Friday now being forced to take on an additional shift on the weekend, and quite frankly, the funding doesn't begin to cover what the costs will be to the municipal courts. So it is not the same as last year's bill. It simply is not. And the sponsors indicate another point. Well, if you don't want to do the bond hearing over the weekend, then you simply release them with a summons. And while it is certainly true that the vast majority of municipal ordinances are for relatively minor offenses, there are a number of municipalities who have included in their municipal codes more serious offenses, like domestic violence, like other types of serious offenses. And to include the fact that some of the offenses on the merits should have a bond hearing, even if those are a very small percentage of the municipal cases that are involved or that go to municipal court. And they are a very small percentage. That is absolutely true. It's a very small percentage of these more serious offenses. The problem is you never know when you're going to have one of those serious offenses occur and the individual be arrested on a Friday afternoon. And now what is the municipal court to do when on the merits there should be a bond hearing? There should be consideration of the impact to witnesses and victims. There should be consideration not just of cash bond, but bond restrictions for public safety. So, you know, it was interesting that one of the amendments or additional flexibility that the Colorado municipal judges asked for, which was refused, was simply to have the flexibility to hold the hearing not strictly at the 48-hour point, but just by the close of that business day, to give them, even if they were forced to do weekend court, to at least give them that additional flexibility. That amendment was refused. So, respectfully, colleagues, this bill puts an undue burden on our municipal courts. It does not provide them with either the funding support or the workaround flexibility we gave to other state courts. It simply does not. And there is no case, not Fifth Circuit, not any other case, that says that the Constitution requires a bond hearing at the 48-hour mark specifically. That is not the language. I ask for a no vote.
Thank you. Representative Hortorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to this bill and the amendments, they don't go far enough. Allow me to explain, colleagues, why. Even in eastern Colorado, I have talked to a district court judge that has said how onerous this is in rural Colorado, in our rural district courts, to have a staff on call to have to deal with this situation. The consideration for allowing rural districts to defer or take more time till the following Monday without bringing in or having special staff on standby or on call, or that district judge or municipal judge on call or on standby to meet this requirement is onerous, it's difficult, and it actually has very negative effects on the judicial staff and the judges. So this doesn't fit in rural Colorado. Secondly, to the point of individuals who have committed crimes, and because we don't do the bond hearings, either because we don't have the resources, they're not in place, or the timing is not right. And let's use the example that my colleague from El Paso County brought up. Domestic violence, and then this person is released on a personal recognizance bond. How does that help the victim? Who knows that that person that did that now is released and back on the streets on a PR bond. Part of the problem with the violence and the increase of violence in Colorado and across this nation is because individuals are getting released too early. They're not getting the full consideration of the law and the judicial process, and then they go on the streets and commit more crimes. We want safer streets. We want safer communities. We don't want these people out on the streets so quickly that, as I have stated earlier in this same chamber, I have a brother who's in law enforcement. Before he turns his final reports in to his captain or his lieutenant, the person that he booked for a crime is home for supper. How does that help protect victims of crime? How do we get the judicial system to be more responsive to protecting victims versus expediting and rapidly releasing people back on the streets? Because we have these very onerous time constraints that we are placing through statute, and we're not listening. Yes, we're listening, but we're not listening enough. And my colleague from El Paso County, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, probably, in my humble opinion, is the most intelligent and legal scholar in our caucus. And I listen to her. But my thing is, this reverberates back to eastern Colorado now and rural Colorado. And I've had this issue hit me square in the chest. So I ask for further amendments, and I want the bill sponsors to listen to our pleas, to make Colorado safer and make sure these people don't just get a personal recognizance bond, or they're given a cash bail and then they're on the streets within these time constraints, perhaps without a hearing, that is very necessary to protect Colorado citizens.
Thank you. Representative Carver.
Well, I appreciate the comments of my colleague. I just want to make a couple of final points. You know, some of the, I've talked about some of the more serious offenses on municipal ordinances, and the comment was made in Judiciary by a supporter of this bill. Well, municipalities have the choice to not put the more serious offenses in their municipal ordinances. Just let it be state code. Really? My discussions with municipal judges and municipal city leaders are there are specific reasons why they put some of these more serious offenses in their municipal code and not just leave it to the state code and state courts, because they can get to those cases faster and surround those cases with more city-specific counseling and treatment. May I respectfully say it is not for us up in the state legislature through this kind of bill to say we are going to put you in such a straitjacket on when you have to have bond hearings, and if you want that you need to get rid of everything that would require a bond hearing on the merits. That is not proper policy in my view. It is also interesting, another point that was brought out in committee, that many of these are failure to appears. Members, as you may recall, we have done legislation in the past which basically removes sanction for numerous failure to appears. Nobody should be shocked that now individuals that are getting arrested for failure to appears have a dozen or more FTAs, as they're called. Think what this does to court resources when you repeatedly schedule court hearings and the individual doesn't show up and there is no sanction. The impact to court personnel and time, the impact to victims and witnesses who have arranged time off from work and there's a failure to appear. In Colorado Springs alone, the failure to appear rate in 2019 went from 33.65% up to 62% in the space of 2 years, from 2019 to 2021. Why? As a direct result of legislation passed by this body. And so when you get a dozen or more FTAs, and some of these folks have more than that, the decision is, no, we will not do a summons. We're going to go to a bond hearing. We're going to have some accountability. But now, of course, if that arrest occurs on a Friday, and now we are putting this burden on the municipal courts without sufficient money, without the state level workaround to go to a pool of judges like they can at state court to take these weekend cases, we are forcing the existing municipal personnel to be on call for weekend court every weekend. Every weekend we are requiring this. Where is the fairness in that? Where is the consideration of the burden we are putting on our local municipalities in that? I ask for a no vote.
Thank you. Further discussion? Yes, Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and appreciate hearing some of those concerns. However, I just want to point to the fact that we, as my co-prime had mentioned earlier, we had extensive stakeholding, including with victims groups, which none of them are opposed. Further, I will just add that a reminder that when people are arrested and they're being held, we do have it currently that you are innocent unless proven guilty. So if somebody's being held longer than those 48 hours, which sometimes ends up being weeks, they're at risk of losing their job, their livelihood, sometimes their kids if they're a single parent. And that affects their ability to thrive when they are finally released. And we've had countless stories of people who were held longer, way well over 48 hours, went through all of those issues, losing their job, kids being placed in out-of-home placement, and it is difficult for them to recover from those things. And they were found not guilty, or the charges were dropped. So that means they spent that amount of time sitting in jail for something that they didn't do, and then they suffer the repercussions following that. I ask for your support of House Bill 1067.
Thank you. Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to address a few points that were made, I'm always happy to debate the law and what different circuits say with my dear colleague, Rep. Carver. Maybe we can sit down and grab coffee and hammer out what exactly the court meant in O'Donnell versus Harris County, 892 F. 3rd, 147, when it said, we conclude that the federal due process right entitles detainees to a hearing within 48 hours. Folks, the approach here is at the request of CML and CMJA. There is zero law enforcement or victim group opposition to this bill. That is precisely the result of the extensive stakeholding that we've done. And in the end, municipal courts will do what they're currently doing. For the handful of our 230 municipal courts that handle more serious offenses, they can have weekend court, they can write those tickets into county court, they have zero-cost options. In terms of, folks not getting the full consideration of the law, I would remind everyone, like my colleague just said, the people that we're talking about are actually innocent until proven guilty. That's what the Constitution holds. And so in order to give people their due process rights and their constitutional rights, we ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would hope that should this bill move forward, we actually engage more extensively with the Colorado Municipal Judge Association, which is still opposed. Again, they had asked just for the courtesy of having the flexibility to do the bond hearing by the close of business of the day that the 48 hours would be up. So if the individual was arrested, let's say at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, that they would not be held to hold a bond hearing at 2 o'clock on Sunday, but could do it by close of business on Sunday. Just to even have that little bit of flexibility. And it was voted down. They were told no. We can't even do that as we're forcing these people to schedule their personnel every weekend to be on call. And the final point.
Thank you. Any further discussion on House Bill 1067? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1067. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. No. House Bill 1067 is adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1235 until the end of the calendar.
House Bill 1235 will be laid over as requested to the end of the calendar. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1267.
House Bill 1267 by Representatives Valdez and Basenecker concerning culturally relevant training available to healthcare professionals.
Representative Valdez-A.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you, sir.
I would like to move House Bill 1267 and the Behavioral Health Committee and Appropriations Committee report.
I think all I have is the Public and Behavioral Health report. Approps to? Okay. To the Appropriations report. Representative Valdez-A.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the Behavioral Health Committee, we added amendments that... I'm sorry? You said approps. Oh, we're on approps, my bad. We got money. Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report to House Bill 1267? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. No. Thank you. Appropriations report is adopted. To the Public and Behavioral Health report. Representative Basenecker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you, sir.
In the Behavioral Health Committee, we added an amendment which more clearly defined priority populations. We incorporated the phrase safe quality into the criteria that must be met. And then we also added an amendment that allows the statewide provider associations to apply for the grants. And I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the Public and Behavioral Health Human Services report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Public Health Behavior and Human Services report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Valdez-A.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, this is a great bill. Essentially what we're doing here is we're setting up a program that provides training so that healthcare workers understand how to treat LGBTQ populations as far as pronouns, things like that. In a survey, we found that 52% of LGBTQIA individuals felt that their primary health care provider lacked this sort of training to understand how to be the best provider possible. So what we're doing here is very simple. We're creating a program that will give grants to organizations that will train healthcare professionals on how to be more responsive to folks that are LGBTQ, but not only that, the intersectionalities of LGBTQ and people of color, all the different things so that folks can get better healthcare. This is seems like a simple bill, but this will save lives as gender dysphoria and those things are real, and we can cut down on it. So I would ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Thank you. Representative Basenecker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just echo the comments of my colleague. I am so proud to be on this bill, and I just know that it's going to do so much good work in our communities towards ensuring that people have access to the kind of care we all deserve. And I think at the other end of the spectrum of that, this really seeks to solve a complex problem by ensuring that our healthcare providers have the resources they need then to give the patients that kind of care. This bill does exactly that. I think it's going to increase the availability of and access to culturally relevant and affirming training opportunities for our dedicated healthcare providers, and I would ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on House Bill 1267? Yes, Representative Hotorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, bill sponsors. There's two issues that I want to talk about. The first one is growing government. We're going to put $1 million into this. The state budget has grown by $4 billion with a B dollars. In the going on 3 years I've been here, the state budget has grown by 11 to 12 billion with a B. If I use a little cowboy math, that's over $3 billion a year. This particular bill is narrowly scoped and narrowly focused. I purport that all people should deserve dignity and respect. Everybody. There shouldn't be a narrow focus of all the different kinds of people, ethnicity, race, whatever you choose. We're a free country. That everybody should be treated the same. And investments like this in narrowly focused programs for specific groups just super elevates that over other people who also ask for and demand dignity and respect. Those are the two issues I have. We could carve out $1 million for almost every special protected class. I could ask this of my Hispanic community. This could go on. Is that the investment we should be making? And can Colorado even afford this in the future? As we further invest in special classes, special programs such as this.
Thank you. Any further discussion on House Bill 1267? Yes, Assistant Minority Leader Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to speak on this, but I think it's important to read a bit from page 3, line 22, and this is a part of the bill. It says, teach healthcare professionals how to provide effective, equitable, understandable, and respectful care and services that are responsive to diverse cultural health beliefs and practices. I want to read that again. To diverse cultural health beliefs and practices. I think it's a poignant time, and I just highlight that because obviously on the heels of COVID, there was a lot of thought, debate around the vaccine. It was politicized. People were called names, even by folks in government. And yet here's a policy that wants to emphasize that there is teaching or curriculum that would emphasize a responsiveness to a diverse culture and health beliefs and practices. Health beliefs and practices. Yet there were many that were stigmatized, called names, lambasted for their choice on their cultural health belief. So I just want to flag that for the chamber, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any further discussion on House Bill 1267? Yes, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I just wanted to come up and speak in favor of this bill. There are quite a few healthcare professionals that really want to become more proficient in this area and are struggling with how to do that, and are faced with patients quite often where they feel inadequate in their ability to discuss in the appropriate terms with the individual in front of them, or to even understand the medical needs of that individual. And the fact that there is a class of Coloradans that have been left out, where the rest of us have not been left out, is really important to remember. And this bill takes a step forward to give healthcare professionals, if they choose to, and if they want this education, to be able to access a program that will help them help their patients. And I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1267. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Bill 1267 is adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1302 until the end of the calendar.
House Bill 1302 will be laid over as requested. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1305.
House Bill 1305 by Representatives Caraveo and Gray, also Senator Winter and Coleman, concerning a temporary reduction of the premium an employer must pay for each of its employees for the purposes of the Paid Family and Medical Leave Insurance Act.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1305.
To the bill. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1305 is an opportunity to decrease the costs that employers and employees will pay under the Paid Family Leave Act that was approved by voters in Proposition 118. We've got some one-time monies available, and the two of us have stood up here before talking to you about it. There's a sort of suite of bills that are coming through, but this one decreases the amount that needs to be paid by employers and employees in the first half of 2023, and ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Carvajal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
An honor to serve with you.
This bill really takes into account that as this proposition was passed by Colorado voters, we did not expect at this time to still be dealing with economic impacts from the COVID pandemic. And so while we provide people with paid family leave, it is important to take those realities into account and then ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion. Yes, Representative Hotorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, esteemed colleagues. Thank you, bill sponsors, for bringing this bill, because this relief is needed for small business. My concern is that this doesn't go far enough. The 6 months isn't going to go, well, in this case, it's going to be through 2023 June. It's not going to be enough, and it's not going to go far enough. Business cycles, economic cycles, the cost to business and small business who has to carry this pail of water for family and medical leave. They have to pay the premiums. It just doesn't go far enough. So I presume next year we could come back with further legislation as we try to do what we call economic recovery. Because the economic cycle, the political economic cycle, for those of us that have studied it, knows that that cycle can take 24 to 36 to 48 months. It's the lead lag effect of policy, decisions, things that impact small business. Now, I do commend the bill sponsors for targeting those 6 months. But I will tell you, I'd like to see it for the whole year of 2023, and maybe even expanded beyond that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1305. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Bill 1305 is adopted. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. We're going to try this one more time. I move to lay over Senate Bill 100 until the end of the calendar.
Senate Bill 100 will be laid over as requested. Mr. Shield, please read the title to House Bill 1273.
House Bill 1273 by Representatives Duran and Sirota, also Senators Fenberg and Pedersen, concerning protections for election officials.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move House Bill 1273 and to the state and the committee report.
To the State Civics, Military, and Veterans Affairs Report. Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We moved two amendments in State Affairs. The first, it's a lot of cleanup language around streamlining subsection 2 of the bill and making sure that we were hearing from our county clerks and making sure that that this was all workable. And we also made an amendment to conform to House Bill 1041, which was signed into law a couple weeks ago, and made some changes to the existing doxing statute, adding a process for real estate professionals to access unredacted records online for real estate transactions.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Report? Seeing none, the question before us is adoption of the State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 1 in 3 U.S. election officials have felt unsafe on the job, and 1 in 6 reported being threatened simply for doing their job. Colorado has suffered greatly from this rising wave of threats toward election administrators. County clerks reported online and in-person threats, and some have even installed bulletproof glass in their offices. We have heard story after story about threats made to these dedicated workers and we need to ensure that Colorado continues to have secure and accessible elections. House Bill 1273 would add election officials and workers to the protections in state law against doxing. Many classes already have these protections, like judges, prosecutors, and soon-to-be code regulators. We have seen that these protections expanded to other vulnerable people in our state. We aim to provide the same protections for those who work to ensure we have free and fair elections. This bill adds additional language in state law to address threats, intimidation, coercion against election workers that interfere with the officials' election duties. And I think really the bottom line with this bill is really about prevention, right? Preventing abuse. It's making sure that our election workers feel safe in the jobs that they do. And there was a comment made by one of the panelists in committee, and this has kind of stuck with me, and it was democracy is a team effort. And that's really what this is about, a team effort in protecting our election workers. And I ask for a yes vote on House Bill 1273.
Thank you. Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are trying to be responsive to the needs expressed by those who are working so hard in our state to conduct our free, fair, and transparent elections, and in particular over the last couple years have been subject to really terrifying threats of violence against them and their families simply for carrying out their duties. We heard from a number of election officials about how hard it has become to actually recruit election judges to work to carry out those elections, in part because of the climate that we find ourselves in now. And we heard a lot of really compelling and disturbing testimony about election officials now going to work wearing bulletproof vests, having to be protected by bulletproof glass, even a description of one election official who had received such threats against themselves and their family that their teenage children had to prepare go bags to keep at the ready in the case that they had to leave their home quickly because of the threats that they had received. And this really spans the political spectrum. It is both our Republican and our Democratic officials and our unaffiliated folks who are receiving this threat. So these threats, it is not partisan. We are really working very hard to try and make sure we can deliver some modicum of protection for these folks who are doing good work all across the state. And I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I stand in opposition of this bill. I understand that we don't want any violent acts towards any elected official. There's already laws for that. But what my main concern is people's First Amendment right to show their lack of satisfaction towards elected officials. I think especially in the United States, we need to be really cautious by any way of intimidating or saying you can't express your opinion towards an elected official. People are frustrated right now. Are frustrated at they're frustrated. They're frustrated with some of their people who they have in leadership, and we want to make sure that if they're online, if they make a phone call, that they're able to express their feelings and not be stifled. Now, there's situations about where they say they put bulletproof glass in. Well, it's already illegal to be shooting at somebody. There's laws against that. If you feel that you need bulletproof glass, well, there may be some better community involvement, community discussions you may want to have with their constituents. But I'm very nervous about our First Amendment rights to show our anger, show our frustration at elected officials. And I don't want to give any impression that if you don't like how an elected official is, or a worker or anybody in that group is behaving, you should be able to express that. So with that said, I ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And the bill is about protection for election officials, not elected officials. Okay, thank you. Representative Slovero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies if I did not enunciate clearly enough, but yes, we are talking about election officials, and it is not just those who are elected, but it also has to do with our volunteer election judges and those folks who are working in our county and municipal offices, as well as our state office. And so it really runs the gamut, and it also, we are not talking about infringing on one's right to free speech. That is still welcome and permissible. It really, what we're really talking about is people being doxxed and threatened, and that our elections are being interfered with, and people are being caused to fear for their safety, for the life, and for the life of their family members. And I think that distinction is pretty clear. And what we are doing in the bill, we are not changing the doxing statute. We are mirroring what we already have on the books, but ensuring that these protections go toward our election officials and election workers.
Thank you. Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, you pronounced it correctly. And when I said elected officials, because the elected official within, let's say, a clerk and recorder's office, does adjust certain policies that go down to the election, employees. And then that's why I stated anybody in that certain group. So, that's what I said back. Sometimes, these elected officials, these election officials represent the policy of the elected official. So, and people will say certain things to them. And this is something where maybe the elected officials should come in and work on better relations with the community and try to work things out and discuss policy better so that group, those employees would possibly be treated better. But I think if somebody comes in and is not allowed to talk to maybe a clerk or recorder or something in that realm, the elected official, they should be allowed to express their opinion over the said policy within that group to the election employee. So that's where I'm just concerned about. And like I said, there's already current law that shows you can't be aggressive within a certain area. Obviously you can't shoot at people. So I just want to be cautious that if somebody comes in to one of these offices, that they can express what they want and won't be stifled for showing their lack of appreciation for the policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on House Bill 1273? Seeing none, the question before is the adoption of House Bill 1273. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Bill 1273 is adopted. Mr. Shebold, please read the title to Senate Bill 116.
Senate Bill 116 by Senators Holbert and Pedersen, also Representatives Van Winkle and Byrd, concerning the ability of an individual to obtain an occupational credential through the Occupational Credential Portability Program.
Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 116 and this Business Committee report.
To the Business Affairs and Labor Report. Representative Byrd.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we amended the bill to exempt engineers, surveyors, and architects, as the training for these professionals is specific to our state and unique to Colorado needs, and also ensures, we made sure that the bill gives DORA the flexibility to consider the education that a professional has received in another state when they are considering whether that person is a strong candidate for a license in Colorado.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Business Affairs and Labor Report to Senate Bill 116. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, understand this bill, in 2020, the General Assembly, we passed House Bill 1316, which was known as the Red Tape Reduction Act, and it had two of the very best sponsors in the history of this august body. And it actually was one of the best bills, I think, looking back at my time, that has ever been passed. So what it did is it created the Occupational Credential Portability Program. In the bill, what it did is it streamlined the process for licensing individuals who hold a valid license to do their business in another state. However, one area that could be improved was the requirement in the bill to show substantially equivalent experience. And there were concerns that this language was a bit too vague and would allow the division to deny qualified individuals a license to do their profession here in Colorado. Moreover, military members who have gained experience in a trade should also be included, and so we're doing that in this bill. This bill accomplishes both goals by allowing those individuals who have a valid license or military specialty to avoid that language, the ambiguous language, and have to prove their capabilities as a way of obtaining their current license. So in short, it will offer more predictable, more reliable licensing. It will reduce red tape, once again, reducing red tape. Thank you, Representative Byrd, and allow Coloradans to get to work faster.
Thank you, Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and many big thanks to my co-prime sponsor, Representative Van Winkle. The other point I want to make about the importance of this bill is, if you look at the workforce shortage that we are having in many key sectors of our economy, this bill is also an answer to that challenge being faced by our state. So we need healthcare workers, we need more licensed professionals to do a variety of tasks that Coloradans depend upon to make sure we can live our daily lives. And we definitely ask for a yes vote, because we need, first of all, people to be able to provide for themselves, get a job when they move to our state, but also we need to grow our workforce so that we have the workforce we need to perform the tasks that need to be accomplished. I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you. Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one last point. I kind of glossed over it in my statements, and I didn't mean to, because I see several veterans here today listening very intently to this bill. And one of the things that the bill does is it really signals a respect of the time, experience, and qualifications for the men and women of the military, and the specialties they gain there, they can now take to a working private sector professional.
Thank you for that clarification. Any further discussion on Senate Bill 116? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 116. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Bill 116 is adopted. Mr. Sheba, I think we're back to House Bill. Please read the title to House Bill 1235.
House Bill 1235 by Representatives McCormick and Catlin, concerning the continuation of the regulation of veterinary practice by the State Board of Veterinary Medicine and in connection therewith implementing recommendation of the 2021 Sunset Report on the Colorado Veterinary Practice Act by the Department of Regulatory Agencies, creating veterinary professional assistance program, adding registration requirements for veterinary technicians, adding veterinary technicians to the State Board of Veterinary Medicine, and allowing certain unlicensed individuals to administer rabies vaccinations.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1235, the Appropriations Report, and the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee Report.
To the Appropriations Report, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Appropriations Committee this morning, luckily, we appropriated some money to make sure this act keeps going. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report to House Bill 1235. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Thank you. The Appropriations report is adopted. To the Ag report, Representative McCormick.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to move L006 to the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee report and ask that it be displayed, even though it's more than one page. Okay. But everybody got it.
Thank you. That has been properly moved, and members, this report was put on your desk on the 6th at 10 a.m. To the amendment, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment to the committee report clarifies that humane societies are defined under the term animal shelter, and therefore removes all references to the term humane society and knowingly that they're already covered under the words animal shelter, and also clarifies that animal shelters have the authority to purchase and administer vaccines. This amendment was necessary after consultation with the pharmacy board and the veterinary board to just make sure that we had the language correct. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Amendment L006? Yes, Representative Hortorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know I'm not as handsome as Representative Catlin, but I want to stand in support this
That's a true
amendment.
statement. No, I'm sorry. Representative Hortorf.
I don't know what he said.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure how to take that. I'll think about it and scratch my head.
It was given in love.
It's given in love.
Thank you.
A loving statement.
I like the spirit of love in this chamber. It's very welcoming. I will tell you that this particular language, I think, is a broader term that is more appropriate as we consider all those the entities that take care of animals.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Amendment L006? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L006 to the Ag report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The amendment is adopted. Now we're back to the Ag report. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, in Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee, we amended the bill to remove the Veterinary Professional Assistance Program, as that particular program needs to be set up as a separate procedure outside of the legislative process, and also amended some dates that were mismatched in the bill to match up correctly. And I urge an aye vote on the committee report.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion on the Ag, Livestock, and Water report, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Report is adopted. To the bill, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm so glad that the room is full of people today because this is the most important bill of the entire session. We are here to renew the Colorado Veterinary Practice Act to guide the profession for the next 11 years in the practice of veterinary medicine. This very critical piece of legislation is absolutely necessary for our profession to continue. It's been 11 years since the last renewal of the Practice Act, and there are some really important updates added to this new and improved Practice Act. And before I continue, I want to let everybody know that Representative Catlin absolutely wanted to be here today. He understands that it was most likely going to be up on seconds today, and will absolutely be back on Monday to vote on this bill. As long as it passes seconds today. As you all know, I belong to the best profession on earth and have been very passionate about this profession. I'm getting kind of weird looks up here from someone sitting on a bench. But I've been working in this profession for over 35 years and started at $1.50 an hour, believe it or not. And how many of you in this room, with the thousands that are in here, have been touched by a veterinarian that has helped you and an animal that you cared for? Yeah, everyone raise your hand. Maybe your dog needed a C-section. Maybe you had a downer cow. Maybe you had a colicking horse. Maybe you had a cat with an ear infection. Maybe you had to say goodbye to your pet with compassion at the end of their life. We've all needed veterinarians, and if we want veterinarians to continue to practice in the state, we need to pass this bill. It has been an honor and privilege to be part of the veterinary profession in our state, and given me the opportunity to practice here as well as own a practice. And we have just great facilities here in our state. We have one of the best veterinary schools in the country here in our state, and a great Colorado Veterinary Medical Association. I want to tell you about a few of the things that are in the new and improved Veterinary Practice Act this year. We have done a great thing by folding in a newly recognized profession in the veterinary technicians. Credentialed veterinary technicians will now be part of our profession under the State Board of Veterinary Medicine, and will give veterinary technicians title protection and allow those that are in the field, working in the field that aren't credentialed, various pathways to become credentialed if they so choose, and will also protect their jobs if they don't choose to become credentialed. They will never lose their job. This was critically important to us because we need as many people as possible in this workforce. It also allows the administration of a rabies vaccine under the supervision of a licensed veterinarian, and this is to really help facilitate, especially in animal shelter facilities, really get the animals that are coming through these facilities taken care of much faster. It will expand eligibility of continuing education credits to veterinarians so that they can access different courses in client communication, management, leadership, and well-being, and will also require self-referral to existing peer health assistance program for arrests for drug and alcohol offenses. So I urge complete support of this bill today. Really, really important to me personally, important to every veterinarian you've ever known in this state, as well as now the veterinary technicians, and I urge an enthusiastic aye vote.
Thank you. Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to speak to the importance of veterinarians in rural Colorado, in our farms, in our ranches. Animal husbandry is so important to those of us that make a living in the country caring for our livestock. And this is essential and vital. Colorado is a leader in veterinary medicine, and I think the chairwoman of the Ag Committee that stands before me is showing that leadership. And I'm especially proud of the stakeholder work and the consideration we gave in the transition plan for the veterinary technicians. Most of you don't know, I've done a lot of vet tech work in my life without a license, without anything other than what we call OJT. And I understand that oftentimes, because of the lack of veterinarians, we need those critical people to do that work. And this particular bill expands that. It also expands the scope of practice, which is something we need in rural Colorado. So I'm not going to speak for Representative Catlin. I'm not his doppelganger, but I will tell you, in the words of Representative Catlin, good bill, vote yes.
Thank you. Further discussion, Representative Mullica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you, Representative.
Thank you. First off, I want to give the sponsors great credit for the work that they've done. I will come up here, though, from a consumer standpoint, and I've spoken with the sponsor about this. I know she disagrees with me, but I do want to be on the record to advocate for telehealth in veterinary medicine. I've learned all about different tear ducts on dogs, and you know, my dog had a discharge from their eye, and I called Representative McCormick up to try to figure out what to do, and I couldn't get a telehealth appointment. Dr. McCormick. Dr. McCormick, I called her up and learned all about tear ducts, and I wished I could have done a telehealth to try to get some type of relief, but I do want to advocate for that. I think it's still a great bill, but if we do have a chance to explore that in the future, I would love to explore that. So,
thank you. Duly noted. Any further discussion? Yes, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to point out that it was very difficult for Representative Mullica to get his dog to put its eye up to the camera so that I could do an adequate physical exam on his dog. So with that, I have taken that into consideration, and I still urge an aye vote on this bill.
Thank you for that information. Yes, Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez-Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask the bill sponsor if there were an option for telehealth for the animals, would they have to sign a release in order to access such type of care?
You don't have to answer that, Representative McCormick. But Representative McCormick.
Yes, they would, and that's why we had a really hard time actually amending that into the bill. We couldn't quite figure out how they could get their paw print, so that we could verify their acceptance.
Thank you. I can't imagine what the people are saying that are listening and viewing, but is there any further discussion on House Bill 1235? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1235. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Bill 1235 is adopted. Mr. Shebo, we're now back to House Bill 1302. Please read the title.
House Bill 1302 by Representatives Kennedy and Will, also Senators Hawkins, Lewis, and Priola, concerning healthcare practice transformation to support whole person health through integrated care models and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1302 and the committee reports from Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services and Appropriations.
To the Appropriation Report, Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L5 to the Appropriations Committee report and ask that it be displayed.
That has been properly moved and now displayed to Amendment L005. Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is just a clarification on an appropriation. This is an ARPA bill. It was funded at $35 million. We had a change in public health that led to an increase above the $35 million instead of taking this additional $250 out of the total sum. So this is just correcting it to bring the total appropriation back down to $35 million. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Amendment L005? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L005 to the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The amendment is adopted. To the Appropriations report, Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Appropriations Committee report appropriated the funds from the American Rescue Plan cash funds. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Appropriations Committee report to House Bill 1302. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed say no. The Appropriations report is adopted. To the Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services report. Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services, we made a number of changes just based on the stakeholding that we did after introduction. We ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Public Health, Behavioral Health and Human Services report to House Bill 1302. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L4 to the bill and ask that it be displayed.
Thank you. That amendment has been properly moved and is now before us to Amendment L004. Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, the JBC analyst and our drafter caught an issue where we needed to clarify for ARPA compliance. This just changes a date in the bill by 1 day. We ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L004 to House Bill 1302. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The amendment is adopted. To the bill, Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you, Representative.
This bill invests in the practice transformation, including behavioral health integration, and will increase access to behavioral health care services for all Coloradans. And this integration model will greatly influence behavioral health access, especially to rural Colorado. And you know, we heard a lot in committee. I was really excited about this bill, but after hearing the testimonies and people in committee, I got truly, really excited about it, and to see how it's going to help and help everyone across the state. And we were listening to people. These are boots on the ground people that deal with these issues every day, and they're seeing their excitement about this bill was moving, you know. And like I say, I liked it beforehand. I really liked it after our committee testimony. But it simplifies the navigation of complex and often siloed healthcare systems by reducing duplication and improving communication with patients. You know, I'm confident this bill is going to help these people that I represent in rural Colorado and all Coloradans. So I think this is an excellent bill. I understand it's got a big fiscal note, but this is truly going to help Coloradans, and I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Will, for carrying this bill with me. I really believe that the integration of physical and behavioral health services is one of the most significant things we can to transform the way that we provide health care to people in this state and make sure that everyone is getting access to primary care, whether it be physical primary care or behavioral health primary care. And that's all I think I'm going to say. So please vote yes.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1302. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. House Bill 1302 is adopted. Mr. Shebel, now we're back to Senate Bill 100. Please read the title.
Senate Bill 100 by Senators Winter and Gardner, also Representatives Duran and Esgar, concerning changes to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Board statutes and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 100 and the Appropriations Report.
To the Appropriations Report. Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. They appropriated the funds for this important bill.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report to Senate Bill 100. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The Appropriation Report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Senate Bill 100, the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Board, was created to ensure coordination and communication between stakeholders and policyholders who share the common goal of preventing fatalities that result from domestic violence. It allows cities, counties, and district courts to establish one local domestic violence fatality review team in each judicial district and receives protection from liability and from having to disclosing sensitive information. It provides a framework for local review teams to further legitimize their work and improve their ability to apply for and receive federal grant money. And I ask for a yes vote on Senate Bill 100.
Thank you. Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I ask for your support on this bill as well. This is a board that's already set up. We want to continue this board. There's important work that they're doing in communities Much like mine, we have, unfortunately, way too many fatalities as a result of domestic violence, and the work that this board continues to do is vitally important to the state of Colorado, and we need it in all communities across Colorado. We ask for a yes vote.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'm sorry. Assistant Minority Leader Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so just a question for the sponsors. As I read some of the all cap text, the term "as needed" is used. I'm just wondering how permissive versus how prescriptive is this bill? If you could address that piece for me, I would appreciate it. So like, I'll further emphasize, so like page 2, line 9 talks about existing review teams as needed. Who determines as needed? Is that the local the local government? Is it the board? And then the review board shall provide technical assistance and training to local governments as needed. Who determines what the as needed is? Is it the local government that determines, hey, we need that? And if there was some clarification, that would be helpful.
Thank you. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the question, Representative Geithner. It's actually the local folks who need the assistance or need the help. They will ask the board for that. Permissive.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 100. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate Bill 100 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Thank you. Attention campers, we are rising and reporting.
The committee will come back to order. Mr. Shee will please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and making the following conditions thereon. House Bill 1067 as amended, 1210 as amended, 1235 as amended, 1267 as amended, 1273 as amended, 1302 as amended, 1305 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 100 as amended, 116 as amended, 139 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Exum. Question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shi will please open the machine, and members please proceed to vote. Representative Ortiz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ortiz votes yes. Representative Michelson-Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative Lindsay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Lindsay votes yes. Representative Burnett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Burnett votes yes. Representative Ricks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Ricks votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative Hooten, how do you vote? Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Hooten, how do you vote? Wait, has she voted? I don't think so. Has she? Did I call on Hooten already? Representative Hooten, how do you vote? Representative Hooten is excused. Just to make sure. I didn't hear it. I don't think so. Please close the machine. With 37 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 13 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till Monday, April 11th.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until Monday, April 11th. That brings us to announcements and introductions. Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to welcome Stacy Adair and Pam Haler with us today. They're two education warriors, and I just want to welcome to your House of Representatives. Thank you.
Welcome. See now, Representative Kipp.
Hey, everybody. We have, I think, about 15, maybe even 20 of our teachers from the Poudre School District here this year. So just today, I just want to make sure that, I think they were out in the lobby, just want to make sure that they're welcome too. Thank you for being here.
Representative Basenicker.
And today's always a good day, like any day, to thank a teacher for all they do on behalf of our communities, on behalf of our students, and on behalf of everyone here in the state capitol. We just want to say welcome, thank you, and we are so grateful for all you do.
Thanks so much. See no further announcements or introductions. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Marlo and I want to wish you a happy weekend and a happy opening day. Go Rockies. I move the House stand in recess until later today.
See no objection. The House will stand in recess till later today.